What's up guys, welcome to another Let's Do Realistic Dreams video. We're going to be looking at the Outer Space CCJ this time. I'm going to be reviewing all those levels. So obviously with the outer space we kind of expect lots of alien spaceships and planets, and there's actually some nice variety of levels in this whole jam. We even have some playthroughs, some FPS shooters, a scenery, some exploratory things, some eye candy levels, as well as just some nice educational stuff there too. But first off, we're going to start off in 10th place and top 10. We're going to look at The Center of the Universe by DJ Juanes. This actually was a sort of little sort of tongue-in-cheek sort of story-ish level where I really like the whole city setting at the beginning, and a bit of spoilers here already, that you kind of loop, you go into a whole loop. The story is about looping universes. You're kind of trying to explore, go through the whole thing, and you basically wander through the spaceship and you land in the center of the universe and you kind of press a button. I really like the spaceship part of this level. I'm not really all that convinced about this whole center of the universe section where it's all goopy and weird. This section probably felt a bit much longer than it really should be, but I did like the whole, the low gravity sort of element to it. I like the comedy element. I feel like there should have been more in the spaceship, just because it just looked better there. Everything was more cohesive aesthetically there. Like the city itself, it looks very, very good. It's just the whole central universe red blobby bit was a bit weird, but this is more like a comedy sort of skit, sort of interactive comedy skit, that more than anything else, which is actually very nice. I mean, I had a good laugh at the end of it too. So to be fair, it's a really nice level, and kind of overall is a little bit linear, but still very well worth voting for, and it's a very nice level. Continuing on with a sort of storyish theme, we have The Monolith by Glitchmaster 7, and this actually was a bit more sort of decorative, and it starts off you being like a monkey and you see this monolith thing, which is quite nice. The only thing I didn't quite like about it is the movement of the monkey, because it's obviously clearly not much effort was put into the movements of the monkey. They just kind of like toys, like you see in those toys, they jump up and down. There's no real actual movement of limbs, but it's still very nice, and I liked sort of some of the actual cutscenes in here. The actual movie scenery is very, very good, and it's got a nice little kind of story. You kind of have some sort of mystery. It comes across as the monolith has, some sort of special powers, and it's a really intriguing thing. And you're just walking around, you get to control people and the monkey, and it's just, you just walk around there. There's not much really to it except for just really nice aesthetics and sort of like sort of a wander in art scene, which is kind of nice because there's nice detail throughout this whole thing. I felt it was a bit excessive to have so many space people there, but doesn't really matter. And I guess there's a little very great interactive short, which you kind of expect nowadays from like these outer space stuff, is that there's sort of some sort of horror element to it, which is kind of comes through in that level. Next up we have Alien Curiosity by C.A. Radford. This was a very intriguing level. The scenery obviously set on some planet, which looks very nice, some sort of desert planet. It looks very cool, and what I wasn't really aware of at the beginning was that we were actually running away from this sort of alien ball thing, and I just went straight up to it. I thought we were meant to interact with this. So maybe at the beginning of this level it wasn't really all too clear what you're meant to be doing in this whole scene, and but once you start moving around, you have a one go and you've got to retry it, then you understand what you're doing. But there really isn't anything to do except for just look around and explore, because once you've finished exploring, because I'm pretty sure I spent a good amount of time just wandering through this whole landscape, which looks very, very cool, and it feels like it's the right level of detail for where you are. And then I decided, okay, well, let's just see if we can do anything with this ball, this alien ball. So once you get closer to it, it starts detecting you, and then it chases you. And to be fair, I'm not really sure what I am on this planet. It looks like I'm some sort of maybe bug, because I'm quite small and all the rocks are quite bigger than me. So I assume maybe I'm like some kind of cockroach-like thing, running away from this sci-fi ball, which kind of chases up to you. Once it detects you, there is no real escaping it. You can sort of keep it at a distance, but there's no real goal to it. And I kind of like that it kind of flashes about, but really nice level there. Next up, we have a level by Quinn Barnett, Dead Space thing. So supposedly throughout the voting section of the CCJ, I don't think this Dead Space thing was finished. and it got amended afterwards. So this is what you see on screen now, is sort of the state that it got up to during the CCJ before voting, and after voting it was fleshed out much more. But there's lots of high detail in that, and to be fair, even the suit of the character itself was very cool, very highly detailed, very impressive. And then just after the actual voting of the CCJ, fleshed out the rest of the spaceship and the bunker area, hangar area, and everything just looks really, really detailed, really cool. I really wonder how much of the thermo this all took up, but this is really impressive, especially with how accurate it is. Once again though, this is very much a sort of walk around scenery eye candy level, where there isn't really anything to do except for you to admire the actual intricacy and detail in this level. And so, you know, even though this has only been what, at 5 weeks or so of the beta, this was really impressive. I really liked it, and I would like to see what else comes from Quinn Barnett in the future, because this is really nice and detailed. And apparently I think this was actually quite small too. He actually scaled everything down very tiny to get this done. So very impressive and really cool. It's like the whole trend of this whole theme of outer space. Everyone is sort of just doing interactive walk-through scenery creations. The next is no different. This is Doorway to the Void by Heaven Ideas, and you're in some sort of like cross-shaped spaceship where you can only go down 4 corridors. It's kind of strange, but each 4 corridors leads to a different sort of scene, or like a different area. So one area is like a viewing platform out to space, which you can see all the planets and, you know, sunrise. It's actually very nice. I really like the sunlight and lighting aesthetics here. It's very cool. And you know, you've got other bits to this whole cross-shaped spaceship or space station. There's like this whole vegetation area, but obviously there's the void area, and I think there's one that's just nothingness. It's a shame there's not much you can really do in this, I guess. I mean, I kind of wish that the void itself also had more interactivity to it, because you literally just go up to the end, you look at it, you can't even interact when you try to walk through even more. You kind of just die. You just go through, or you just walk through this whole bit and you die. It would have been nice to have some sort of interactivity. If you maybe go into the void, something happens, or it ends the level, or you know, something more than just you can walk into it. You know, the Doorway to the Void makes it sound, the name of the level makes it sound like so much more impressive than it actually was, but still very cool, nice aesthetic and nicely done. So you know, well worth some votes. Next up we have Metal Mudder by MadProps101. This was a first-person shooter-style level, which I had a lot of difficulty with, to be fair. I tried for a long time to actually do what I thought was the idea of this level, was to, you know, shoot down these metal balls, but apparently I don't think that's what you're meant to be doing, because you can just run through this whole level avoiding everything. So it seems like the whole first-person shooter element is a bit redundant in this whole creation, because I thought, yeah, you gotta hide, you gotta shoot down these metal balls, and it is so hard because these metal ball things, they move much faster than you, and once you've caught their attention, they follow you or whatever, and it seems to take a lot of hits to kill it. But I do like the aesthetic of this, and I like the whole setting of the place. And you know, the idea of it, you know, running through a horde of enemies is still not too bad. Although obviously this whole setting is not quite realistic, because how the hell do we get to where we started off in the first place? But it's a very challenging one until you realise that it is so simple just by running through it. I think even though they're faster than you, they don't detect you straight away, and you can just about escape them. The only thing you can't do is escape them and shoot at them at the same time, I don't think. So it's been really hard, but a really cool level nonetheless. Next up, we actually have the only sort of still level in this whole CCJ Top 10. This is Alien First by Kedna. This is a very nice little scene. Obviously very different to all the other levels we've seen so far. They're all more realistic styling and sort of more detail orientated. This one is very cartoony, which is very cool actually. I just feel this is very nice. I really like the screens and the whole breaking of the alien through the window, although I'm kind of a bit surprised why this guy has no helmet. Or there's a lot more details you could actually put into this whole scenery, but it does, you know, it gives off a nice little impression. It already tells a story there in this whole scene. It's very cool. I kind of wish that there was a bit more camera work in terms, because the camera work just really pans out once, and that's kind of all it does. If it was doing that, you know, if the creator Kedna was actually just doing the camera work, it would have been nice if he did a few more angles or a few more pans here across, just, you know, so we can see more of the actual scenery. But instead, it's just pan out once and we stay there for pretty much until we want to leave, which is a bit of a shame because I kind of would like to see a bit more of this spaceship, and obviously it wouldn't have been that much more work, I guess, for Kedna to actually, you know, include a few more details on the side so that we can do extra panning. But still very nice, and I would actually like to see more of how this plays out technically. So very interesting, it keeps you interested. Next up, we have probably one of my most, well, it came third in the CCJ, but one of the levels I found the most annoying. This was Comet Grab by Trent Bucket. It's sort of like a mini high score game, and while I like the premise of this whole level, where you actually, you know, you use the imp to pull comets away from the Earth, so that's actually very good. I like this whole interactivity using the imp interacting with the levels. That's really cool. It's a very cool way to actually make it, you know, mix up the imp with what you're trying to do in the gameplay. So it's very cool. The only thing is that I found it very difficult to actually grab onto these comets, but because I sort of, even when I'm trying to fling them away, because you can fling them away completely, as in completely out of orbit, or you can just lightly grab them and sort of send them onto a little orbit around the Earth, so helps, you know, sustain yourself and maybe to also help destroy some other actual comets coming your way. But I found it really hard. The first grabbing is really hard, especially when it gets harder along. So, you know, the difficulty progresses quite quickly in this whole mini game, and more comets come much faster. And once that happens, I found that the actual grabbing bit was just too hard because I was using the DualShock, and the actual motion of flinging it away just wasn't. I had to fling too much for it to actually fly away. So that was my major difficulty. Maybe it's more suited for the move control of that level. So, but still a very, very cool level, and I'm really glad they got like third. Next up, we have A Little Place in Outer Space by Thought. This is probably actually my favourite of the outer space levels, just because of its concept, I guess, maybe, or just the actual interactivity of this. So there's a really small planet, to be fair. It's a really, really tiny planet, and there's obviously different zones in this planet, and you're meant to go around exploring to find some of these bubble things, and they, you know, the more you collect, the more powers you actually get, and you can actually go all the way out into outer space, and you can see this whole planet. And so this is the part that I actually like the most, being out in outer space and looking back down on this planet. Being on the planet, the camera angle felt a bit weird sometimes, so that wasn't quite enjoyable in some places on this planet. But the aesthetic is actually very cool. I really liked the level of detail that it had. It all felt very nice, and, you know, very painterly aesthetic. I like the painterly aesthetic for this level. It worked very well. But going out into space and just seeing this world, you know, what is very Earth-like, you know, rotate and stuff and things happening, it was very cool. I really enjoyed it. This is probably my favourite just because of that. Being able to be on the planet itself, walking around, exploring the different parts, and then going into space, looking back at it as it still rotates around. And, you know, the actual aesthetic, even the skies and stars, the way it transitioned, it just did it very, very nicely. So definitely my favourite level of this whole jam. Finally, in first place, we have The Encounter by Big Surf 77. This got loads of attention, obviously, when it was first published. And Big Surf obviously is a very good creator, as we've seen in LBP as well. And The Encounter really shows just how much better Big Surf can be with, you know, much more detailed tools, because this is looking very detailed in this, and it's very much what you'd expect from maybe like a proper full-on sci-fi game. But, you know, Big Surf has done it in Dreams, and to be fair, it's actually quite vast, this whole station thing that he's done. I really found that robot thing really cool as well, and everything, you know, it feels like there's lots of detail, but if you look at it closely, yeah, there's actually lots of, you know, duplications of stuff. So that's probably what kept Thornton down at the same time. But this is amazing, and I can't wait to see more of The Encounter, because obviously this is just chapter 1, and obviously not even the full chapter 1. This is just pretty much a teaser for what's to come when the full game comes out. So definitely stay tuned. We're going to be checking out the rest of the encounter when it comes out, but it's clearly probably like one of those puzzly kind of levels where you're walking around, you have to do stuff, flip switches, etc. to go through. I don't think this is going to be like a first-person shooter. I really hope not, to be fair, because it kind of ruins it for me. And if it becomes a first-person shooter, I like this as sort of an exploratory eye candy sort of setting. Just so beautiful. But let me know in the comments below, guys, what you think of these levels in the top 10 of the Outer Space CCJ. Don't forget to stay tuned to Elastic Rising for more Dreams content, and here we'll give you a special mention. Interactive 3D Local Starman by ATM Live. This is probably my favorite non-top 10 level in the Outer Space series. And I just like the fact that people are actually creating educational stuff in Dreams as well.